Hi, I'm John Viehman, sharing the trail with some of the jungle's most industrious inhabitants in Corcovado National Park. Join us in a Costa Rican rainforest as we make our own adventure on Trailside.
Trailside is brought to you in part by Chevy Trucks. Next time you're having fun outdoors, remember, you're not alone. And LL Bean, providing sporting gear and apparel for people who love the outdoors for over 80 years. And Weider Nutrition Group, makers of Tiger's Milk bars. Nutrition for your body, fuel for your sport.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
I'm on Costa Rica's remote Osa Peninsula, a piece of land jutting out into the Pacific from a country probably no bigger than West Virginia. Now, this is really a wild place. Here in Corcovado National Park, there are over 500 species of trees and as many as 10,000 species of insects. But only about 2,000 of them are the biting kind, or at least that's what I'm told. Corcovado also has one of the best trail systems of any park in the country. Now, rainforests such as this one cover about 7% of the Earth's surface, but they contain over half of its living species. About a quarter of the land in Costa Rica is protected, but the rate of deforestation is pretty high elsewhere in the country, probably the highest in the world, which is why the government is taking some dramatic steps to protect what's left. Among other things, they've placed strict guidelines on visitors to the park, which is why you have to base your trip out of one of these ranger stations. And what's spurring them on is not that it's just the right thing to do. Tourism, or ecotourism, has become the third largest industry here, almost overnight. Hey, Cabeto.
Hey, John. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Well, what is it about Corcovado that's so special for you?
Oh, this place holds the greatest biodiversity of all of Central America, and it has at least 8 different types of habitats inside of it, including the sites around it. This is the largest piece of rainforest in all of lowland Costa Rica. If you have a small pack and you're ready to walk, I'll show you what we're talking about.
Okay, we got a fanny pack in here.
Okay.
Anything else I should be bringing along?
Very sensitive pair of eyes and your ears and a good pair of boots, yes.
Okay, well, I think I can handle that.
Well, seriously speaking, I guess you're well dressed for that. Long pants and long sleeve shirt, that protects you from bugs and things out there. And very, very important, you want to keep your things in plastic bags.
Yeah, I bet you guys get a lot of rain down here.
Oh, you bet.
Well, with all the leaves in here, you'd almost think it was autumn, but there's still plenty on the trees.
It's such an important part of tropical forest dynamics here. The turnover of leaves here is so fast, mostly due to predators.
You mean all the insects eating the leaves?
Yeah, trees have evolved to replace them quickly, actually a few times a year.
Where I come from in Minnesota, it's only once a year. Now, we're right between the two seasons, from dry to wet. How does that affect the forest?
Oh, it could rain here at any minute now, but that's very positive for the forest. There's a lot more energy, a lot more flowers, a lot more activity in the wild here.
Oh, yeah, look at this one. There must be 40 buds right here.
You're right. And with that many flowers, this heliconia here will have a lot of nectar. And for things that depend on that nectar, like hummingbirds, it's the time to bear their offspring.
Oh, look at these over here. They look pretty familiar. What are those?
This is a Dieffenbachia, and a close relative of this is used as an ornamental. This one is already passed as a flower, but Let's see. Yeah, right here. See, this one's got fruits. Very attractive pattern. A lot of animals will be attracted to that.
Oh, like what kind of animals would you think?
Birds mostly. Toucans, for example.
Oh, looks pretty tasty to me.
I wouldn't eat it if I were you.
Well, look at the root structure over here. This is pretty interesting.
There's a reason for that. This is a great example of how these trees have evolved to live on a very thin, very, very thin soil here.
Now, why is the forest floor so thin down here?
It's interesting. It rains so much in here that the nutrients wouldn't be able to hold on the surface. So trees have evolved these structures here to both support themselves and to get more area so that they can absorb more nutrients.
Now, we've gone quite a ways. We must be at least, what, halfway around the loop by now?
Oh, not quite. It's the humidity here and the slippery terrain. It feels like it's a lot longer than it actually is.
Well, we've got a stream down here. Hey, do you guys drink water right out of these?
Oh, everybody does. You notice I don't carry a water bottle with me?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
People in here just get to a stream and drink directly from it. You want to see how we do it?
Sure.
Well, you choose a big leaf like this and fold it.
Well, that's pretty slick.
Try it.
Well, it's pretty tempting, but I think I'm going to stick with the filtered water in my water bottle. I just got here and don't want to take any chances until my system settles down.
I call that safety. I think that's good for a few days. Let's go up the stream. There's a shortcut here. It's an interesting vegetation, and we'll get back to the trail a little later.
Okay. I was pretty skeptical when you said I should go to an army surplus store and pick up a pair of jungle boots, but if you add an insole for some arch support, they get really good traction, and you can't beat the price. They're pretty much the ideal boot for this kind of terrain.
The best thing about them is that they keep your feet dry.
Dry? What are you talking about?
Oh, well, you see these vent holes in here? They let the water right out.
Oh, yeah.
That's really important in here.
Well, somebody had the right idea when they designed these. Boy, the plants are really getting leafy in here, aren't they?
Lots of light, and leaves tend to be very big. Heliconia here. See, wildlife takes advantage of the size of these leaves for protection. There are frogs and bats that live under these leaves here.
They live
and
underneath
they're hiding there. Well, few species of bats bite the base here of the leaf, and as it falls down, they will grab on the center and protect themselves from predators. We call them tent bats.
Oh, that's cute. This looks like snake country coming up. Anything to worry about?
I wouldn't worry about the snakes that much. I'd be more concerned about piranhas, though.
Wait, piranhas? Wait a minute.
Piranhas in Costa Rica only eat fruit, so we're safe on that one.
Okay.
Actually, this is a very safe environment. There's no parasites like Giardia. There's no leeches. If you were ever lost in the forest, the best way to go out will be to follow the course of these rivers all the way into the oceans.
Just head downstream. Hey, did you see all the things growing on this tree?
Those we call epiphytes. Plants in here, because of the struggle for light, have evolved to grow on top of other plants. Actually, more so on top of trees, so that they're closer to the light source, the canopy. We call this a strangler fig. This is a tree that grows upside down.
Upside down? What are you talking about?
See the aerial roots that come from this fig. This would be the last structures to develop in the process here. What happens is there'll be a seed deposited on a branch up there on another tree, and this will give this tree a head start. It will grow up very quickly to the top where the light is, the energy, and then the roots will start developing and coming down. They will grow, they will fuse with each other, and then the whole tree will die.
Oh, so that's why they call it a strangler fig?
Right. And there's also several strangler figs in this formation. There's lots of cavities also, and wildlife is usually found around here. They use them as shelters. Oh, here, I see this. Look, this is a land crab.
Oh. Looks a little cranky to be woken up.
This land crab is probably up here looking for mites and insects in this little cavity, probably shelter as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wildlife does that.
There's some beautiful colors on that one.
Very beautiful.
Now, how old do you think this tree is?
150, probably 200 years.
You know, I really can't stop thinking about it. I've read so much about all the poisonous and pretty aggressive snakes down here in Costa Rica. I mean, that's true, right?
That is true. And in lowland forests like this, they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In Costa Rica alone, there are at least 17 different species of snakes that are very poisonous.
Mm.
Some pit vipers, like fer-de-lances and bushmasters, are gigantic. They can get to be 6 feet more.
Yow. Now, what's the likelihood of us encountering them on the trail right here?
On a trail situation like this, not so much. They get disturbed by the sound and the movement. I'll be more concerned about bushwalking around here or open areas like grasslands, even the beach.
Okay. Well, say we did encounter one here and one of us got bitten. What would be your first response?
It is very important that everybody that's in there remains very calm. Also, immobilize the victim, because physical activity would only increase the speed at which the venom will spread. It's also very important to inspect the wound. You want to know whether it's really a poisonous bite. And you can do that because there'll be 2 points in here. A little bruise and a swell up.
Okay, and that tells you it's poisonous. And one thing you don't do, I guess, is cut in with a knife and start trying to suck the venom out with your mouth, right? That's a myth.
You definitely do not want to do that. That's a myth, yes, and that's very dangerous. There are other things that people would do, but definitely remain calm. That's very important.
Okay, well, what about some of these other treatments that they have on the market, like these pumps? Do they work? These suction pumps?
I have a pump here. Let me show you how it works.
Okay.
This though, it's a preliminary step into the cure of this thing. It's very important to note that too.
Okay, well, say I was bitten right here. How would that work on me?
Well, this creates pressure on the wound and will suck some of the fluids. Feel it?
Yeah.
Well, this should remain in there for a few minutes, 3, at the most 5, and for only a couple or 3 times. And then that's it. They will take some of the venom out.
Okay, well, what about some other kinds of treatment? Like, what about anti-venom?
Anti-venom, that's very dangerous. And unless you were trained to do something like that, you shouldn't attempt it because it can be more harm than the bite itself. You have 4 hours, as much as 4 hours sometimes, to evacuate. And definitely the most important thing is quick evacuation.
Yeah. Well, you know, all this talk about snakes, I've actually seen statistics that show you're more likely to be struck by a bolt of lightning than you are to be bitten by a poisonous snake.
And you're right, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared.
Yeah, that's true.
It should be around here. Yeah, right there, right there. Look, look. There's spider monkeys. See them?
Yeah, yeah. Looks like he's gonna have some lunch.
They're fruit eaters. They can support the weight of their whole body with their tails.
Do they travel alone or do they travel in packs?
Well, during the daytime while they're getting food, they travel in small family units. At night, they gather in large groups. We call them troops.
Troops, huh? Cute little guys. Hiking in the tropics means everything gets wet. If not from the rain, then the rivers, even your own body sweat's going to soak you. And with 95 to 100% humidity, everything's going to stay wet. So the key to comfort is to avoid cotton clothes because they're going to have a long time drying out, and to choose ultralight fabrics. Now, keeping your feet dry is very important, and as I found out yesterday, it's not so easy. But even if you can't get your boots completely dry socks will protect your feet from blisters and rots. You want to pack in a lot of extra pairs of these, and maybe even some foot powder. Now, to deal with the rain, ponchos are the outerwear of choice here. But to tell you the truth, they can be pretty warm, so you may find it's actually more comfortable to just let yourself get wet. And finally, to protect yourself from the sun, Don't forget a hat.
Buenos dias, John.
Good morning.
Hey, I can see you wearing your boots. Did you check them before you put them on?
No, I didn't. Should I?
What's the jungle out there? You never know what can crawl in there.
Oh, really?
You ready for this? You want to see where we're going?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, this is where we are now, in Sirena. What we have is really a great walk, mostly on the beach. It's altogether about 19 miles. And when we get here, we'll get up to a plateau. Very different forests, and they have great, spectacular views of the ocean from up here. We'll hopefully try to get to San Pedrillo eventually. And in order to do this, we'll have to cross 3 rivers: Sirena, Corcovado, and Llorona. The most critical thing is you have to check the tidal chart. Because we want to make sure that when we cross the rivers, the water level is as low as possible.
Looks like we don't have much of a window to get across, huh?
Oh, we have a few hours, but we can make it.
Yeah? It's still a couple hours between these. Well, are we going to see any interesting wildlife along there?
Well, that's not guaranteed. It can be, but when we're crossing the rivers, we can see crocs or sharks.
Crocodiles and sharks in the river as we're crossing?
Well, we may get lucky. Who knows?
Oh, no. Well, speaking of wildlife, you got me a little concerned. I think I'm going to check these boots out for something that might be moving around down in there. Pretty quiet in the forest this morning. Not a whole lot going on, huh?
You'll be surprised. Let me show you here. This is what we call a cecropia, an empty tree, hollow. See, it grows in chambers. You see the lines here?
Yeah, sort of like bamboo.
Very similar process. Inside these chambers, there are hundreds, actually thousands of Azteca ants, which are very aggressive. And they protect the plant from predators. The plant in exchange produces food for them. And it ends up to be a very good deal for both of them.
Well, now that you mention it, I see ants crawling all over this one right here.
Very different plant and ant, but still a very close relation between the two of them. In this case, the ants protect the plant not so much from predators, but from competition. As you can see around here, the ants have been gardening. There's no green plants that will compete with this plant for light. And in exchange, the acacias provide shelter here inside these hollow thorns, as well as food, sugar out of these glands here at the base of the leaf.
Amazing. Oh, now what's this blob over on the tree over here?
That's another great example of social insects in here. That's a termite nest, and termites are really special because they can process cellulose, very complex plant material, and they use the feces, mud, and saliva to make their nests like that.
Wow. Looks like they've got a whole stream of it going down along this vine right here.
They're very sensitive to light. They're actually even blind, and they build tunnels all over the place.
So this is actually a tunnel, and then it goes down into the ground. Where does it go from there?
They go to their feeding areas out of this tree. It can go for hundreds of meters up the trees, in the vines, everywhere.
So are we going to see some of those poison arrow frogs down here by the stream?
No, not really around the rivers. They're more close to the trees. They actually even breed in these plants, bromeliads, that hold water up on the trees.
I hear you can get poisoned just by rubbing against one of those frogs. Is that true?
Not really. You either have to be injected or put it in your eyes or your mouth.
Oh, these roots over here are like a natural ladder.
And because they're so close to the surface, they prevent this bank from erosion.
Oh, I can feel that breeze coming right off the ocean.
Good old Pacific. Boy, do I love this view.
It's getting a lot hotter too. Must have come up about 10 degrees just walking out here, huh?
Isn't it amazing how the canopy in a forest really provides the protection? It makes a difference, really.
Yeah. Well, what's going on? The sand's black. I thought this was the tropics. Shouldn't it be white?
What we have is we are on a very active volcanic area here. And this is a partial result of that. We have the Cocos Plate here that's going under the Caribbean Plate. And we have all the mountains in Costa Rica as a result of that. Many of those are volcanoes. A few of them are still very active. Come on down this way. It's a lot firmer in here, close to the water.
Okay.
So this is the next river we need to cross. Let's find a shallow spot.
Okay.
You notice the current?
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
All these rivers have these strong currents and they're constantly changing. You never ever cross these rivers on the same spot. You find that.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Well, we're right on schedule as far as the tides go on the tide chart.
Oh, very
What do you
good.
say we try and cross over by that downed tree down there?
Perfect.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest, and tide charts are a relatively foreign concept to me. But what looks like a wall of numbers is pretty simple and easy to understand. You start with the moon, and the moon's gravitational force has an effect on large bodies of water, in this case the ocean, on about a 12-hour cycle. And what that means is that every 6 hours it pulls the water inland, and then for the next 6 it pulls it back out. Now that'd be pretty straightforward, except it changes about an hour every day, and that's why you need a tide chart. The tide chart will tell you the high and low tide. Now about an hour before and after high and low tide, the rate of change or movement is relatively slow, and that's when you want to cross rivers like this. Now we got our tide chart at park headquarters, but you can get them at any marine supply store. You ready to cross?
Yeah, take off your pack. I'm not really sure how deep this is gonna be.
Yep.
Ready?
Okay.
Let's go.
You say those sharks were in here at high or low tide?
They don't have any preferences. They just wait till you're halfway through and boom.
Oh. How big are they?
Oh, they're big. They're probably 10 feet long, but don't worry, they won't come around you. They try to avoid you as possible.
All right, well, at least I'll know what to look for. Actually, that wasn't too bad.
That's great. You know, I found out that when you walk with someone else here, it's a really good idea to have a buddy system. The person that's affected by heat exhaustion is the last one to realize it. What you have to do really is keep them cool. That's the most important thing. Bring them up to a shade or put them in a river. Keep their heads up and definitely give them a lot of water. Gradually though.
Yeah. And then when you do resume your walk, do it at a slower pace and keep an eye on them, huh?
Right, that's very important. Probably about an hour or so. People usually get over it pretty quick.
Of course, the best way to deal with heat exhaustion is to prevent it from happening in the first place, and that's actually fairly simple. You know, you just keep yourself good and hydrated, make sure you're wearing a hat on your head for shade, and when you take your breaks, get over to a shady spot if you can. It's amazing though, you know, a lot of people confuse sunscreen with protection from heat exhaustion,
Yes.
when really all that does is keep the sun from burning your skin. Of course, I didn't tell you about my secret weapon for dealing with the sun.
I've seen a lot of people pack those umbrellas. It's a great idea here.
Looks like we're running out of beach.
Right up here is a trail where we cut into the forest.
Okay. Well, we've made really good progress, but now it's time to make time before nightfall. We still have 5 miles to go before we get to San Pedrillo Ranger Station, the northernmost camp in the park. And the high plateau we're headed into has what Cabeto calls the rainiest of the rainforest in Costa Rica. It'll be wet, but after what we've seen so far, it's going to be hard to dampen our spirits now. From there, we're going to head up the coast and camp at will, because in Costa Rica, the shorelines are public land too. So we'll see you next time on Trailside.
Available now, the complete series of Trailside illustrated guides, hiking and backpacking, bicycling, kayaking, cross-country skiing, and winter adventures. To purchase, call 1-800-TRAILSIDE, 1-800-872-4574.
I understand there's quite a bit of medical application for products out of the rainforest. If it's so good for everybody, why are they destroying it? I mean, timber? What is it?
Oh, it's a very sad story. Actually, they use it more for agricultural land. The timber, they don't even use, they burn it usually in the field. It's very sad, but there's some good alternatives. Like there's big pharmaceutical companies nowadays that are investing millions of dollars into research for potential medicines in the future.
The home video of this program, as well as other programs in the Trailside series, is available for $19.98 plus shipping and handling by calling 1-800-TRAILSIDE, 1-800-872-4574. Trailside is brought to you in part by Chevy Trucks. Next time you're having fun outdoors, remember, you're not alone. And LL Bean, providing sporting gear and apparel for people who love the outdoors for over 80 years. And Weider Nutrition Group, makers of Tiger's Milk Bars. Nutrition for your body, fuel for your sport.
That's a wrap.
Jungle out there.